asking questions tonight about the rise in respiratory viruses. With students back in school and viruses surging across parts of the country, some locations might look at requiring masks again. Flu season and RSV are also expected to reemerge in the coming months. Joining me now is Premier Health Chief Medical Officer Dr. Roberto Colon. Thank you so much for being with us here tonight. Parents know around this time of year with kids back in school that illnesses spread really fast, and we deal with this every school year. How is this year similar and different to what we saw last year?
Well, it's similar in that we're seeing the same resurgence of viruses like we have really the last 2 years. We're seeing a lot of the COVID coming back with some of the same illnesses. What's different is the number of the people who are ending up in the hospital is very different than what we had seen last year and definitely lower than the year before. So we're kind of going through the same routine that we have the last 3 years.
Well, we talked with you in the past as COVID numbers have been surging in some areas. You just heard Senator J.D. Vance talking about masks, a lot of controversial opinions, a lot of research on that. As a medical professional, when you look at the pros and cons, specifically when it comes to children with wearing masks in the classroom, is that a measure that you believe is needed?
I don't think it is right now. And I say that because the numbers that we are seeing are not really suggesting the same level of transmission that we saw before. However, things may change as we progress into later parts of the year when we have more illnesses and you start seeing more of the RSV and influenza creating an issue in addition to more COVID.
The new COVID-19 booster is expected to be available soon, which is supposed to protect against some of the new variants that are concerning people right now. What do we think? Where do we stand in terms of vaccines, not only for COVID-19, but for some of these other respiratory viruses as well? What are you seeing in terms of the number of kids getting those vaccines for the school year?
Well, I think we are in a point right now where we have a lot of different tools to be able to help kids stay much more protected than they have over the last few years. What we're not yet seeing is the same uptick that we would like to be able to use the RSV vaccines, to be able to look at the COVID and flu vaccines. And we want to make sure that as we go into the later part of the year, more and more parents take that step to be able to protect their children.
Lastly, when we even mention the word coronavirus, I know we have many viewers who just feel that fatigue. They can't believe that we are still talking about this so many years out. From your standpoint, how big of an issue is this moving forward as we continue to go into these seasons each year?
I think this is a virus that we're going to have to learn to live with. It's going to continue to evolve, and that's what we're seeing with more and more variants, more and more iteration. What's different is every year we learn more about how to handle it. We do not need to be afraid, but we've got to respect it and be able to adjust our protection levels as we see this threat rise.
We want to keep everybody healthy and keep those kids in school. Dr. Roberto Colon, Premier Health Chief Medical Officer, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.